There. There. Say hello.
Oh, you're on.
Hey, it's not, it's after 12. I don't know if you can see out the window there. That's the Smoky Mountains eventually. They've got a lot of cloud cover though. But, oh,
You ended
camera. What? No way.
It says ended just now.
No, are you serious?
Unless that's me. Is anyone joining?
Yeah.
Okay. Not me.
There's Michelle.
Hi, everybody.
She's for real. She's not a murderer. She's not, oh, Linda says, are you on?
I can't get on. I had to get off the Wi-Fi.
Oh. The Wi-Fi says we're connected and then it won't. It's a big fat liar of a connection. Hey, Tanya. Tanya. Are you driving? Tanya, are you driving? I wish it was our vacation home. It's our temporary vacation home. I wonder if Catherine didn't get her notice. Somebody tweet it to Catherine. Be careful, Tanya. That's the kitchen behind me. It's beautiful. There's an upstairs. Michelle picked it. She found it. She did a really good job. And outside is the Smoky Mountains. It's beautiful. We're in Gatlinburg, Tennessee.
We tried to skip on the porch.
Oh, gosh. Oh, my title went away. Oh, well, that's okay. Oh, it's beautiful.
Muted that.
It's beautiful. It's really, really pretty. I'll take you on a tour later. There's Catherine. Here, let me do one quick spin. Catherine, here's the upper floor. Wood everywhere. Morgan said, how do you know they're real people? Yeah, one night. And then behind me is the kitchen. I was like, well, they've spent an awful lot of money on my products to be murderers. Okay, let's get going. We're waiting for Tanya to get here. She's, yeah, no axe murderers. Looks like your house, only nicer. That's awesome. We're on Big Magic today, right?
Oh, yeah.
You can't stay too long, but we'll watch the replay. Okay. Did you check your dashboard this morning, Catherine? Yeah, a bunch of sales yesterday. A big flurry of sales. Okay. We read the permission slip part, but we skipped a chapter. We skipped a part. Remove the suggestion box. I skipped that. We read a dazzled heart. Right.
That's where I was.
A dazzled heart. We're just past that.
Oh, permission.
Remove the suggestion box is where we're at because I skipped.
Yes.
So page 81. You live in a log home. Oh, that's super cool. It is pretty posh. It's 3 floors. It's really pretty. We'll take you on a tour later today when Tanya gets here, so you can see the whole thing if we can. The Wi-Fi for some reason isn't. It says we're connected, but then it doesn't work. So I don't know what that's about. Anyway, we still do our daily thing, even while traveling. So remove the suggestion box is where we're at in this book. And it starts, so Elizabeth Gilbert didn't grow up with artists. She says, I come from people who worked more regularly at life. My maternal grandfather was a dairy farmer. My paternal grandfather was a furnace salesman. Both my grandmothers were housewives, and so were their mothers, their sisters, and their aunts. As for my parents, my father is an engineer and my mother's a nurse. And although they were the right age for it, my parents were never hippies, not in the least. They were far too conservative for such things. My dad spent the 1960s in college and the Navy. My mom spent those same years in nursing school, working night shifts at the hospital, and responsibly saving her money. I don't know what that's like. I don't do that. After they were married, my dad got a job at a chemical company, and he worked there for 30 years. Mom worked part-time, became an active member of our local church, served on the school board, volunteered at the library, and visited the elderly and the housebound. They were responsible people, taxpayers, solid, voted for Reagan twice. I didn't do that either. I learned how to be a rebel from them. Although Reagan was the first election I ever voted in. Was it Dukakis and Reagan? I think that was my first voting election. I just turned 18. Or no, 20, I don't remember. It was forever ago. It doesn't matter. Okay, I learned how to be a rebel from them because just beyond the reach of their basic good citizenship, my parents did whatever the hell they wanted to do with their lives, and they did it with a rather fabulous sense of something I can't pronounce. INSOUCIANCE. Anyone? Phonetics? No idea. Also, doesn't matter. My father decided that he didn't merely want to be a chemical engineer. He also wanted to be a Christmas tree farmer. So in 1973, he went and did that. Okay.
Bye, Cindy.
Yeah, don't eat up all your data. Then you'll go over and it'll cost you a fortune. He moved us out to a farm, cleared some land, planted some seedlings, and commenced with his project. He didn't quit his day job to follow his dream. He just folded his dream into his everyday life. He wanted to raise goats too, so he acquired some goats. I've been trying to get... hi, Ben. We're waiting for Tanya. I've been trying to get Heath to go with getting goats, and it's not working. I don't see why we can't have goats. We live in the middle of nowhere.
Good. Yeah, goat milk and goat cheese.
Yeah. Cat is like, no goats. He brought them home in the back seat of our Ford Pinto. Pellets. Goat pellets. No thanks. Had he ever raised goats? No, but he thought he could figure it out. It was the same thing when he became interested in beekeeping, which I am going to do beekeeping because I can put the bees far away from the house because he complains about that too. And I was like, what's the point of living in the middle of nowhere if we can't have bees and goats?
Honey.
Yeah. He just got himself some bees and began. 35 years later, he still has those hives. When my father grew curious about things, he pursued them. He had solid faith in his own capabilities. And when my father needed something, which was rare because he basically has the material needs of a hobo, he made it himself or fixed it himself or somehow cobbled it together himself, usually without referring to the instructions and generally without asking the advice of an expert. My dad doesn't hold much respect for instructions or for experts. He's no more impressed by people's degrees than he is by other civilized niceties such as building permits and no trespassing signs. For better or worse, my dad taught me that the best place to pitch a tent will always be the spot marked no camping.
Breaking the rules.
Right, breaking the law, breaking the law.
Dun, dun.
My father really doesn't like being told what to do. His sense of individualistic defiance is so strong, it's often comical. I'm surprised he survived the Navy with that kind of... I mean, that would have been me. Had I made it into the Air Force, had I signed on that line, I probably wouldn't have lasted very long. Back in the Navy, he was once commanded by his captain to make a suggestion box to put in the canteen. Dad dutifully built the box, nailed it to the wall, then wrote the first suggestion and dropped it through the slot. His note read, I suggest that you remove the suggestion box. In many ways, he's a weird egg, my dad, and his hyper anti-authoritarian instincts can border at times on the pathological, but I always suspected that he was kind of cool anyway, even back when I was an easily embarrassed child being driven around town in a Ford Pinto filled with goats. I knew that he was doing his own thing and following his own path, and I intuitively sensed that this made him, by definition, an interesting person, the most interesting man in the world. I didn't have a term for it back then, but I can see now that he was practicing something called creative living, and I liked it. I also took note of it for when it came time to imagine my own life. It's not that I wanted to make any of the same choices my father had made. I'm neither a farmer nor a Republican, but his example empowered me to forge my own way through the world however I liked. Also, just like my dad, I don't like people telling me what to do. I have a feeling that this particular scope following is filled with people who don't like to be told what to do. A little bit on the fringes, which is where the most interesting people live. While I am not at all confrontational, I am deeply stubborn. It's like, yes. The stubbornness helps when it comes to the business of creative living. As for my mother, she's a slightly more civilized version of my dad. Her hair is always neat, and her kitchen is tidy, and her friendly, good Midwestern manners are impeccable. But don't underestimate her, because her will is made of titanium, and her talents are vast. Now, this is like the women in my family, like any kind of craft project, well, any kind of project of any kind nothing was off limits for that. So she's a woman who always believed that she could build, sew, grow, knit, mend, patch, paint, or decoupage anything her family ever needed. Speaking of decoupage, my mom and Mom, are you on here? My mom and my aunts went through a decoupage phase, and there was like giant calico section plaster cat crap everywhere. Big plaster cats were decoupaged. All deco cats everywhere. Yes, they're huge. Little squares of calico prints cut out with pinking shears and glued, and anything standing still got decoupaged.
Did you get decoupaged?
No, I could have if I'd have stood still long enough. Yeah, decoupage was everywhere. That was like a big deal. She cut our hair, she baked our bread, she grew, harvested, and preserved our vegetables. She made our clothes. She birthed our baby goats. She slaughtered the chickens, then served them up for dinner. My aunt and my mom slaughtered chickens. My grandfather raised rabbits, and he and my uncle would slaughter them. And my grandfather canned. He made jelly, canned vegetables. I can't really think of anything that we didn't. Like just tons of craft stuff and self-sufficiency stuff. Although there was KFC and those weird TV dinners in the metal trays. Hi, Julia. Which I don't know why we ate those. They tasted terrible. Yeah, country folks even in the city. Even when we were living in the city. She saved us trips to the doctor by patching us up on her own. She smiled sweetly at everyone. And Church's Fried Chicken. Yeah, that was good. That was good stuff. She smiled sweetly at everyone and always acted like a total cooperator, but then she shaped her own world exactly to her liking while nobody was looking. Salisbury steak. That's the worst. And Elmer's glue mashed potatoes and the weird little peas and carrots thing and the tiny little leathery brownie thing in the middle at the top. Did you have those? Mm-hmm. Metal, yeah, they were disgusting. Your dad still loves it. Yeah. And the greasy fried chicken ones. Oh, God. So horrible. So, yeah, the weird apple pie. Yeah. We thought they were awesome. We were kids, though. What did we know? Let's see. I think it was my parents' example of quietly impudent self-assertion that gave me the idea that I could be a writer, or at least that I could go out there and try. I never recall my parents expressing any worry whatsoever at my dream of becoming a writer. If they did worry, they kept quiet about it, but honestly, I don't think they were concerned. Now, come to think of it, now that we're talking about this, I guess some women in my family were pretty radical. They didn't. They were feeding us vegetarian diets, probably to cut down on expenses more than anything. But it was these weird, like dog food pellet things made out of probably wheat. I'm guessing little chunks of. Independent. That's one word for it. Soy. They were disgusting. Whatever they were really, really gross. And they fed us all natural stuff, even though the TV dinners were getting really popular then. And we weren't allowed to drink soda or do anything weird like that. And they had foster kids and translated for the deaf. So there was all kinds of stuff going on that wasn't exactly mainstream. So it's not too surprising that we'd be independent thinkers in some areas, and then in other areas kind of rule bound. The all natural started with Nell, my Aunt Nell. Okay. I think they had faith I would always be able to take care of myself because they had taught me to. Anyhow, the golden rule in my family is this: if you're supporting yourself financially and you're not bothering anyone else, then you're free to do whatever you want with your life. I worked with a guy once, his name is Jeff Murray, and he, when he was 18, got in a fight with his dad. Oh, carob. Oh, and the wheat germ.
Ew, wheat germ.
Blech. So disgusting. When he was 18, he grew up in Colorado, and then when he was 18, he got in a fight with his dad, so he said, you know what, I'm out of here. And he left and rode trains all the way to Alaska and was completely homeless for a while. Like, he ate out of dumpsters out behind restaurants, and, you know, I don't ever want to go to that extreme. I get it that the food is probably okay. It's still packaged and whatever, but just the thought of crawling inside a dumpster and getting dinner out of it, I think that's just better left to bears and hobos. But I always admired that he would jump on a train like that and go all the way from Colorado to Alaska illegally, climbing on whatever random train he could find. That's pretty cool, that attitude. Maybe because they didn't worry too much about me, I didn't worry too much about me either. It also never occurred to me to go ask an authority figure for permission to become a writer. I'd never seen anybody in my family ask anyone for permission to do anything. They just made stuff. So that's what I decided to do. I decided to just go make stuff. And that's all it takes, is letting go of the idea that you need permission. And we talked about this section after this, called your permission slip, the other day, the day before yesterday. So I'll skip that and go to decorate yourself, which is on page 90. But you don't have to have anybody's permission. If you want to raise goats, you can find goats on Craigslist. But please do your research, because they are animals and they're not like, I mean, they do get sick and require care and some education. So don't just go randomly buying goats. But don't wait for anyone's permission to live your dream either. And even if you can't do your dream large scale, you can usually find some little piece of your dream that you can do right now. And usually it won't cost anything, or it won't cost much. So say there's a bunch of wine books here and your big dream is to own a vineyard, and you can't see how to get there yet. You can take a wine class. You can take an organic gardening class. You can find instructional stuff on the internet, I'm sure, about what kind of grapes to raise and how to raise them, and that doesn't cost you a dime. And it's one little step of your dream, and it's putting it in your energy and making it more of reality. You can take tours of vineyards. You could ask somebody to give you a behind the scenes tour or some education. A lot of places don't. Most people I've found are incredibly generous with their knowledge. If you're respectful of their time and offer to compensate them for their time. So far, I've never actually had to compensate someone, but I always offer, because you need to be respectful of people's time, and that's their business.
But they enjoy doing that.
They love it. Yeah, so they love it. When they was building the sexual assault response team in Adams County, and I would call people from out of state or go visit other sites. You could get a job at a vineyard. You could volunteer. You could do tours. There's all kinds of things you can do, even for big dreams, that get you in that arena. And then as it becomes more familiar to you and it's more real in your reality, it's very hard to go from 0 to 60, like to go from a business idea all the way to the end result. But you can take these little baby steps. So don't let anything stop you from your dream. And if you need help figuring out which little baby step you can take, ask for help. Find somebody doing what you want to do and ask them, what little thing can I do to get started? Don't wait. Hi, Susan. So page 90 is decorate yourself. I have a neighbor who gets tattoos all the time. I am my neighbor. Her name is Eileen. She acquires new tattoos the way I might acquire a new pair of cheap earrings just for the heck of it, just on a whim. I don't do that. All of my tattoos are very well thought out. But my daughter's kind of a tattoo junkie where she doesn't, I don't think she always gives a lot of thought to which tattoo she's going to do.
Yeah, we're late.
Yeah, we're super late. And I don't know what time we'll be on tomorrow either. But we'll be on sometime, but I don't know what time. She wakes up some mornings in a funk and announces, I think I'll go get a new tattoo today. If you ask Eileen what kind of tattoo she's planning on getting, she'll say, oh, I don't know. I'll figure it out when I get to the tattoo shop, or I'll just let the artist surprise me. Now, this woman's not a teenager with impulse control issues. She's a grown woman with adult children who runs a successful business. She's also very cool, uniquely gorgeous, and one of the most free spirits I've ever met. When I asked her once how she could allow her body to be marked up so casually with permanent ink, she said, oh, you misunderstand. It's not permanent. It's just temporary. Confused, I asked, you mean all your tattoos are temporary? She smiled and said, no, Liz, my tattoos are permanent. It's just my body that's temporary, and so is yours. We're only here on Earth for a short while, so I decided a long time ago that I wanted to decorate myself as playfully as I can while I still have time. I love this so much I can't even tell you. Free spirit and kids? Yeah, you can do both.
Maybe.
It's not always easy, but you can do both.
Learning to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
Learning to
Yeah,
do that.
you can still be whatever you want. But yeah, you can get caught up in your internal description of what mom means. So your roles and definitions as you've understood them and what the culture has given you as a description of what a good mom looks like and what they do and what they wear. But you don't have to drive a minivan, and you don't have to let your kids play soccer. You don't have to make their lunches, and you can teach them to do their own laundry, and you can get tattoos. Because like Eileen, I also want to live the most vividly decorated temporary life that I can. I don't just mean physically, I mean emotionally, spiritually, and intellectually. Oh yeah, with teens, for sure. I don't want to be afraid of bright colors or new sounds or big love or risky decisions, strange experiences or weird endeavors or sudden changes or even failure. Mind you, I'm not going to go out and cover myself with tattoos simply because that doesn't happen to be my jam, but I am going to spend as much time as I can creating delightful things out of my existence because that's what brings me awake and that's what brings me alive. And think of what you're modeling for your kids. If you're doing that, then you're showing your kids how to move in the world based on what they authentically want to do and how to do it. You're modeling it for them. And if you're making mistakes, you're modeling to them how you branch out in new directions and make a bunch of mistakes and how you keep going. I mean, you're teaching them all kinds of stuff. You're not supposed to be perfect. Mm-hmm. Yeah, how to be your authentic self. Exactly. The best thing you can do is let your kids see you make mistakes, trying new things, because you don't ever want them to be afraid to take risks like that. And let them take risks while they're still within the safety net of your home. I went to college later, so I was 25 when I went to get my bachelor's degree, and I was in school with a lot of 18 and 19-year-olds, they were losing their minds because they hadn't taken any risks in high school. They'd never done anything really big, and so they were kind of cut loose away from home, and they were just going bananas because they were trying to cram in everything that they wanted to do before and hadn't. So let them take some risks and make some mistakes when they're still at home, and you can help. Because once they're making big mistakes in college, it's harder to help. Yeah, in undergrad, just going crazy. Yeah, it used to make me feel really sad. And then I was like, well, hey, I'm kind of glad I screwed up so much. Because I was actually there learning because I wasn't hungover and, throwing up in the back of the classroom, which did happen. I mean, I went to CSU, so. Beer? Yes, please. And then I was a unarmed police officer on campus. And so, there was pot and beer everywhere, and there was constant stuff like that, all because I felt like even then it was all because the kids just had not had any experience with pushing limits and testing their boundaries. And now they were out of parents' range and they were going way too far.
That's why I started drinking at 16.
Yes, just get it out of your system. And then when you
Start early.
Yeah, just start early. Just, it's like when they're toddlers, you put them in a playpen, only they're teenagers, so you fence them in the backyard and you let them get drunk, or, don't take my parenting advice. But it's really not that much different. You help them contain themselves. Yeah, kids who are into sports are super sheltered because that's all you do, right? Sports in school, sports in school. You don't really have time to mess up. You don't have opportunity to make mistakes, so then you can go a little crazy. Okay, so she's not into tattoos. I do my decorating with printer ink, not with tattoo ink. But my urge to write comes from exactly the same place as Eileen's urge to turn her skin into a vivid canvas while she's still here. It comes from a place of, hey, why not? Because it's all just temporary. You were raised like veal. She said I was raised like veal. She went crazy. So the next section is, I'm just going to read maybe part of it. Mostly because I'm starving and I want to go eat. But this is one of the sections I read early on when I first started scoping. Before we had settled on Course in Miracles as a daily practice, I was just reading random things. And it's really important. So it's on entitlement and healthy arrogance. And I don't think healthy arrogance, she calls it the good kind of arrogance. But let's read about that little piece and then I'll stop. So, in order to live this way with freedom and to be your authentic self, no, the thought of veal doesn't make me hungry. I was hungry before we started. Actually, veal kind of terrifies me a little bit. Okay, so to have this kind of freedom, free to create, free to explore, you must possess a fierce sense of personal entitlement. This is the healthy kind of entitlement. This is the entitlement that says, as long as I'm not hurting anyone and, I'm not breaking the law in a, wildly flagrant, go to jail kind of way or hurting other people kind of way, then I can do what I want. And I hope you'll learn to cultivate this. And I do too. I really hope that you'll develop this if you don't have it already. I recognize that the word entitlement has dreadfully negative connotations, but I'd like to appropriate it here and put it to good use because you will never be able to create anything interesting out of your life if you don't believe that you're entitled to at least try. Creative entitlement doesn't mean behaving like a princess or acting as though the world owes you anything whatsoever. No, creative entitlement simply means believing that you are allowed to be here and that merely by being here, you are allowed to have a voice and a vision of your own. The first woman to walk the Appalachian Trail was 60-something. And she walked the whole thing. She was a grandma, so I want to say mid-60s or something. And that was a long time ago, so that took some guts. If she can do that, you can surely take a class on how to raise grapes or whatever it is you're into. The poet David White calls this sense of creative entitlement the arrogance of belonging and claims that it is an absolutely vital privilege to cultivate if you wish to interact more vividly with life. Without this arrogance of belonging, you will never be able to take any creative risks whatsoever. Without it, you will never push yourself out of the suffocating insulation of personal safety and into the frontiers of the beautiful and the unexpected. That is true. The arrogance of belonging is not about egotism or self-absorption. In a strange way, it's the opposite. It's a divine force that will actually take you out of yourself and allow you to engage more fully with life. Yeah, because often what keeps you from creative living is your self-absorption, your self-doubt, self-disgust, self-judgment, your crushing sense of self-protection.
That's why we gather here.
Yeah, because if you didn't care, if you weren't so worried about yourself and what you look like, it's the one called entitlement on page 92. If you weren't self-conscious is the word I'm looking for. If you weren't self-conscious to the point of being crippled by it, you wouldn't care. You would just go ahead and join the Peace Corps in your 50s or whatever you want to do. Because it wouldn't matter to you if people called you a flake or whatever. The arrogance of belonging pulls you out of the darkest depths of self-hatred, not by saying I'm the greatest, but merely by saying I'm here. So it's your birthright, just by virtue of you being alive and having a physical body and, having the ability to do things means you get to do that. You have that right. But sometimes there's social conditioning to overcome, but you're perfectly capable of overcoming it. I believe that this good kind of arrogance, this simple entitlement to exist and therefore to express yourself, is the only weapon with which to combat the nasty dialogue that may automatically arise within your head whenever you get an artistic impulse. You know the nasty dialogue I mean, right? I'm talking about the nasty dialogue that goes like this. Who the hell do you think you are trying to be creative? You suck, you're stupid, you have no talent, and you serve no purpose. Get back in your hole. Yeah, or some variation on that. I know that you know what that sounds like. To which you may have spent a lifetime obediently responding. You're right, I do suck and I am stupid. Thank you, I'll go back in my hole now. I would like to see you engaged in a more generative and interesting conversation with yourself than that. For heaven's sake, at least defend yourself. Dang hole. Yeah, right. No, thank you. Defending yourself as a creative person begins by defining yourself. It begins when you declare your intent. Stand up tall and say it aloud, whatever it is. I'm a writer, I'm a singer, I'm an actor, I'm a gardener, on and on. I don't want to read them all. I am this and I am that, and I'm also this other thing too. I'm a gambler, I'm a joker, I'm a midnight toker.
I'm going to be playing some music in the background.
I don't yet know exactly what I am, but I'm curious enough to find out. You were writing that down. The saddest thing is to hear people say who write or who are artistic not allow themselves to say I'm a writer or I'm an artist because they haven't met some invisible threshold of credibility. So a lot of times people won't say, well, I'm not a writer because I'm not published. Well, that's ridiculous. If you write, you're a writer. There's this lofty, ambition thing that keeps people from claiming their own gifts. I took a class with an amazing painter. He was so awesome. We were both learning from the same teacher. And she had a magical gift with color. She does have a magical gift with color. Yeah, I am, whatever, fill in the blank. And he wouldn't allow himself to say he was an artist, even though he was doing outstanding work, because it had never been in a juried competition, like an art show. Some of them are juried, so you get, first, second, third place or whatever. It's run by a jury mostly of people who have too much time on their hands and don't have any particular expertise anyway. But there's some sort of lofty thing attached to that, and it's like that culture vulture thing we were talking about the other day. So that's absurd. If you paint, you're an artist. If you do anything creative, you're an artist. You can be an artist in any kind of medium. I would say my husband is an artist in random metal machinery parts and welding wire. I mean, he does artistic, creative things with that. Not something you'd put on your wall, but something you can till your garden with. That's art. So don't limit yourself. Claim your talents. You don't have to have a certificate. You don't have to have someone else's stamp of approval. before you can claim what are your natural gifts or gifts that you're learning. So speak it. Let it know you're there. Hell, let you know you're there, because this statement of intent is just as much an announcement to yourself as it is an announcement to the universe or anybody else. Hearing this announcement, your soul will mobilize accordingly, and it will mobilize ecstatically, in fact, because this is what your soul was born for. Trust me, your soul has been waiting for you to wake up to your own existence for years. But, and here's the personal responsibility part, you must be the one to start that conversation, and then you must feel entitled to stay in that conversation. So somehow or another, you've got to work with yourself to understand that what other people say about you is irrelevant. It hurts. It might sting, especially if you catch people talking about you like in real time. That's going to be awkward, but you'll be fine. It's going to hurt you a lot less to deal with your family or your coworkers or your neighbors' criticism, or the people at the country club, if that's the circles you move in. It's going to hurt you less to deal with their backlash to your changes than it is for you to keep sitting on what wants to be born through you. That actually will kill you. Sitting on that, keeping a lid on your natural passion, will send you to an early grave. So, do you want to live your authentic life? Do you want to you want to wake up in the morning excited? Or do you want to wake up and worry about what Babs at the tennis club is thinking about you today? It's a pretty simple choice. Yes, if it's true for you, it will stay. Then you start peeling away the layers. Then you start getting comfortable with being happy, because that can stop people. When you start getting happy, it gets really uncomfortable. And there's work to do, but you can do it. And the family can be a tough one. Yeah, it really can be. No one can keep us tied up as long as our family can sometimes. But again, if you're the child, you're probably going to outlive your parents. And I read something the other day, and I can't remember what it was, but it said that most people are waiting for their parents to die so they can live the life they always wanted to live. That's terrible. Where did I read that? I think Aaron Jemison might have sent me an article about that. I can't remember where I read it. That's terrible. That's terrible. If you're waiting for your parents to die so that you can live the life you want to live, that's tragic. And don't do that. Stop it right now. Just knock it off. Okay? Don't do it. Yes, just stop it. Stop it right now. There's no reason for that. What are they going to do? They can't send you to your room. They can't take away your birthday.
You're
Right. Well, I haven't let you restrict me, so we're good. That is terrible. Not immediate family, really, more cousins, aunts, and uncles. It's understanding they don't understand. And it's okay. Yes. It's
They may never understand.
Right. They probably won't ever understand. Especially if you're doing something that's radically outside your family's level of comfort. If they're all, I don't know, history of Catholic priests, and you become a pole dancer, you're probably going to have some backlash. But it's okay. You'll be fine. You'll be okay.
Nice analogy.
They are so judgmental, and you're okay. They're going to judge you and talk shit about you, and you're going to be okay. It's going to hurt, maybe. You might not be able to talk to them for a while, and you'll still be okay. So it's all of those things, and you have a responsibility to yourself and your gifts to live those, because we've only got this one life for right now. New Age, metaphysical, intuitive, psychic readings, your family is like, cricket, cricket, chirp, cricket. Yeah. Yeah. So, let me make sure I'm following you. What's your first name? I don't think I have seen you before. Gotcha. Oh. Oops. Hold on, I'm messing things up here. I almost disconnected us. You're referred to as woo-woo by your family. That's not so horrible. you get to live your authentic life, and they can think whatever they want. So, anything you want to add?
I'm just watching the mountain reveal itself to us.
The mountain is revealing itself to us. Let me give you a quick view. And then, can you guys see out the window? Here. I think we're done with me lecturing you. So let me walk you out and show you the mountains before I turn this off. Here's the house. And if the signal drops, I'm sorry. And again, I don't know what time I'll be getting on tomorrow. There's the staircase up to the second bedroom. And I'm going to try and turn the camera around. We worked. Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Yes, Julia. I didn't sleep again last night because I knew I was meeting these ladies. Yeah, you can. So I couldn't sleep because it felt like, summer camp. I never went to summer camp, but I can imagine that's what it would feel like. I was all excited. Just hanging out. Smelling some oils and... You're up. There's Michelle.
Hi, guys.
That's what Michelle looks like. She hasn't scoped in forever. Show me your
correct.
mala. Look at this Sarah mala, and she's got Linda's jewelry on. From Toronto. I'm so glad you came.
Oh, yeah.
You woke up, and this amazing piece just washed over. Julia, that's awesome. There's the bracelet that Linda made. So awesome. Julia, I finally got to watch one of your scopes the other day. You have awesome energy that just shines right through. Have you watched any of her scopes? Transpersonal healer.
One, not two.
There's yeah, thanks for coming. So that's the Smokies out there, and you guys can actually see it. I think. Can you see it? I can't quite tell on the screen. That's one of them. Tanya will be here later. Tanya Beckmore. She's on her way from Chattanooga. So yeah.
I'm real.
She's real. She's a real person. I'm sure my husband thinks I'm off cheating on him or something.
I'm surprised he didn't log in.
Oh, that's right. Oh, he's at work.
Well, is that lunch?
At 3:30, I'm supposed to send my husband a text that I locked myself out and he needs to leave early. That was our deal. I get to take a weekend or a night away, and so he gets to take off work early today.
Yeah,
so
look at the clouds. Right.
Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Oh my gosh, you guys. We're just sending this piece to you.
Deep breath.
Horizon and the sky right there. The Gaia energy. Yes. Panoramic view. Here you go.
So glad the sun came out.
Yeah, when I first got here, all of the woods below us was still covered in fog.
And it's supposed to rain.
Oops, my battery's about to die. Yeah, enjoy this because by tomorrow it's supposed to be raining again. And there's lots of bears up here, I guess, because everything's bear-proofed. All right, I'm going to go. My battery's about to croak. Yeah, mountain medicine for you. Love you too. Wish you all were here. Have a great afternoon. We'll see you tomorrow.